Science, I always feel, is catching up
Science is catching up.
with philosophy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying philosophy is right,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that there has been so much of philosophy across, be it Asia, Europe. Mostly it's Asia or Europe. I feel that people do try to create an image on social media on the way they would want others to perceive them.
Yeah.
Let's say I want the others to perceive me as someone who's very strong and mentally, physically.
And hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Ngobrol Dengan, or in English, Chatting With. I'm here with my good friend Bipin from Ketitik app. You go to daily news platform.
Thank you, Wafa. Thank you for inviting. Very excited to be here.
Very excited to have you here as well, Bipin. So how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good as well. Business, life, everything's good?
Well, I mean, business is getting better. Whatever. It has been very interesting last few quarters, but this quarter in particular looks good. It seems like things are improving overall on a sentiment level as well as the business metrics level. So pretty happy.
The best quarter yet for you?
The best quarter from perspective of clarity, yes.
Awesome.
Clarity for the business, clarity for the roadmap in terms of product, feedback from users. So overall happy.
Amazing. Before we go deeper,
Sure.
Bipin, I want to make sure that the audience know your story, right?
Sure.
And I personally want to know your story as well. We spoke a bit, I think, last time we met, but now I want to know deeper. I want to know a more complete picture of your life story. So maybe you can start. Where were you born? How did you get started? How did you end up in Indonesia, I guess?
Okay, I'll try to just give you a rundown.
Sure.
You can stop wherever you feel that you can find an exciting bit. I was born and brought up in Mumbai, India. Earlier it was Bombay. Born in lower middle class family to parents who are not very literate but very knowledgeable. So I always keep telling people that knowledge and literacy are not interdependent.
Interesting.
You
Yeah.
can be very intelligent without being literate, and vice versa. There are illiterates who have done their PhDs.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean, born brought up out there. Grew up in Mumbai. Did my engineering. Did very badly in my engineering. I'm a field engineer. Done my 3 years of engineering in 5 years. I failed twice. Wasn't very interested in studying engineering. Was always more keen towards history and psychology growing up. And still I continue to. Today I would add philosophy to it. So I continue to read a lot on history, philosophy, and psychology.
I'd love to talk about history and philosophy.
Sure. Anything. Whichever way you want to take this conversation.
Yeah.
And typically in India, if you're a failed engineer, you only have a couple of career choices. I picked up sales.
You picked up sales?
Yeah. Picked up sales, started off working for a US-based company, selling payment protection plans on credit cards.
Payment protection plans.
I'm not sure how it was in Indonesia, but back then in early 2000s in India, the BPO culture was massive. Business process outsourcing culture.
Right.
Wherein you would have just thousands of Indian people making calls to US.
Yeah.
Or US folks are calling to the customer support.
Right.
Yeah. I started my journey out there, got extremely bored in the first year itself. All it was paying really well, but I got really bored. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't really be so fake.
Right.
Be it with my accent or be it with enforcing it to the people whom I'm calling that, hey, listen, I am in Detroit. I'm in New York.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas.
Exactly.
I'm not. I'm over there in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Right. So it was pretty tricky. But yeah, when I moved, and since then I gotten into sales. And so but this is something which I realized very quickly. You don't need to be a good engineer to sell a good tech product. You really don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You can be a bad engineer and sell a good tech product.
Right.
And so I started off as an inside sales, in an inside sales role, selling SAP.
Sorry, what's that? Inside sales.
Sure. So inside sales is someone who doesn't meet the customers, but basically sets up a call or sets up a meeting for the sales team.
I see.
Right. Generally now it's become very popular. It's called SDR, Sales Development Representative.
Right.
Or some places it's still called inside sales. Some places it's called business development representative. But generally, the role is reaching out to prospects and setting up meetings for the sales managers. That's really the role.
Yeah.
But I was still doing it for the US customers back then in 2006, 2007. Continued doing that for the next 3 years. Then as luck would be, met someone who offered me an opportunity to work for Southeast Asian market. But the carrot was that, hey, listen, I'm going to pay you lesser. You start working from India, but I'll move you to Singapore. I'm like, okay. But by this time I was fried. I was done doing night shifts. Right? Because you're meeting US customers.
Yeah.
It was all night shifts. So I took up that opportunity. They didn't take...
In Singapore?
No. It was based in Mumbai. So that was the carrot.
Okay.
The carrot was, you do well, we'll move you to Singapore.
If you do well.
If you do well. And I did well.
You did well.
I continued doing well. Like, where's Singapore? And like, yeah, we're gonna move you. Singapore did happen, but Malaysia did happen. And I was like,
right.
Okay. I'm like, okay. Good. Let's do it. So I moved to Malaysia in 2010. And that's where my real sales journey begins.
Right.
Wherein I'm on field meeting customers.
And that was your first time in Southeast Asia, I'm guessing.
First time Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
In person.
In person.
In fact, it was my first time anywhere outside of India.
So the first country that you went to outside of India was Malaysia?
It was Malaysia.
Got it.
So Malaysia continued to be home for the next 4 years. During which I got married to my girlfriend. We had a baby. I moved back to India. It was our first baby. And we want to spend time with my parents and everything.
Yeah.
So I was in India for until 2017, 2014 until 17, I was in India. And that is when I figured out that I want to continue working in Southeast Asia. Right. And
what made you realize that you want to work here in this region specifically?
So interestingly, I had always worked for customers who were not Indian customers.
Okay.
So post my college, I was working for US based customers all the while. When I moved to Malaysia, then I was serving Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, Thailand as the customers. It was enterprise sales, but customers were mostly Southeast Asian. And I really liked it. I really liked selling to this region. The reason being that you generally don't have very rude meetings. There might not be good meetings, but they aren't rude meetings. Yeah. And somehow for me it's such a big deal. I don't like when people are rude. Not only to me, to anyone.
Sure.
I don't like the energy, the atmosphere. Some people thrive in it. Nothing against them, but I personally don't. I like that. Okay, I mean, you're not interested. Tell me politely. I'm good.
But that's also a tricky thing for me, Bipin. So for example, I realized that in most countries in Southeast Asia, and especially in Indonesia where I spend most of my time, people may not show or give off the vibes that they dislike you.
You never have a bad meeting in Indonesia.
Exactly. But behind the scenes, sometimes, it's very hard to tell. People could say different things, think about you in many different ways, but they never show it, right? It's never expressed. So it's a high context society.
It is. Look, okay, so we can take two different perspectives over here, right? So first perspective is from a sales perspective. Right. So for sales, you have different frameworks, right? I always tell people that as soon as you come to Indonesia, no framework works. Your bands and your other spin frameworks, it doesn't work for South. It doesn't work for Indonesia, especially. And I've seen a lot of people struggling. What I always tell to anyone entering Indonesia market is that do not let the size or the over-promising nature of the market overwhelm you. Because that will happen. Suddenly your pipeline will look really massive. But bro, it is not real. It isn't real. Because you will never have a bad meeting. As you rightly said, it's always a good meeting.
They never say no outright. Right, no sales process.
Yes, but there's a massive upside to it. The upside is that you generally never lose a deal permanently.
True. There's always a shot.
There's always a shot. Even if they have taken in, even if they have bought your competitor today, there is a shot. A year down the line, or 2 years down the line, there's always a shot out there. Second perspective, which you rightly mentioned, is a bit on the personal side. Right?
Exactly.
You never really know what they really think of you.
True.
I have philosophically I've made peace with that, and I just don't care. What
you have to don't care
what people think of me. I mean, so there's a well on your philosophy. There was a student of Croix Friedman, and she has written this very famous quote: "I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what you think I think I am."
Let me just get that first.
It's really
I am what you think I am.
I am what I think you think I am.
Right, I got it. Yeah. So it's not objectively what people think about me, but it's what I think
they think about me.
What people think about me. Okay, yeah.
Right. So I mean, if you look at the whole, and it's very deep, right?
Right.
So I mean, in psychology, even today, this has been debated a lot. That how partially you can break down this whole sentence, and there are studies which are being done, right?
Right.
And it still holds true that in most studies, that most people's perception of themselves is actually the thought of what they think other things about them.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm like, look, it just doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, you be good.
Yeah.
What you think is good, and you move on. Let them continue thinking what they want to. It's okay.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with many people. They're like, you're never able to make out if they like you or they don't. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter.
True.
Till the time you're not actually like going out there and having a fight and slapping each other off.
Exactly.
I think it's okay.
Exactly. And I completely agree, because I keep saying to people, I think there's a big reason why people have anxiety is because they worry about people's perception of them, right? They worry about what society think of them. They worry about what their maybe parents, siblings, friends, or partners, or colleagues, or bosses, investors think about. That, right? So there's a lot of anxiety that stems from that.
Especially with the rise of communication channels. And but to be honest, people actually don't think of you that much.
Exactly. That's what I keep telling people.
You don't think that people are thinking of you always. That isn't the case.
Exactly, because just like the way you think about yourself all the time, they're also doing the same. Most of the time they think about themselves. They don't think about you that much. They worry about how you perceive them. The way you worry about how they perceive you.
Right? Absolutely. I mean, just to give you a very simple example, you and me talking over here, right?
Yeah.
As I told you, like exactly 2.5 days back, I thought of you.
Right.
I told you, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned, and there was a very specific context in which I thought of you.
Exactly.
I'm gone on my nicotine journey, and I thought of our conversation.
Exactly.
Right? About your journey. And that's it. Right? And then I move on with my life.
Yeah.
Again, there will be certain context and I'll think of Wafa. Or similarly for you, that you'll think of me for some context. That's about it. And then people move on.
People move on. Yeah.
They don't really think of.
They worry about other things. But it's interesting because in the era of social media, and then we'll get to your company because I think this is highly relevant.
Yeah.
In the era of social media, we always try to craft this image of ourselves, right? Because we assume that whatever image that we're building is perceived by people the way we try to make that perception basically perceived by people, right? And then in turn, people, when they browse their feed and then they see different photos and videos of us, that affects how they think, and then maybe in a way that affects how they try to project themselves as well on social media. So it's almost like social media, in a way, is this constant flux of projecting and then perceiving, and then counter-projecting and counter-perceiving. And philosophically, we know that everything only exists in relation to each other, right? The only reason why you know something is hot, because you know how it feels to touch something that's cool, right? Without knowing the feeling of coldness, you don't know what hot is.
True.
Without knowing the feeling of brightness, you don't know what dark is. So in a way, maybe you won't know how you truly are unless you know, right, how people perceive of you, sort of, because you only exist in relation to other people.
True. I mean, social media is still kind of a black box for many, to be honest. It looks extremely easy. It looks extremely simple.
That's the operative term.
But it's a massive black box.
It is.
Even for quite a few experts, it's a black box, and especially from a philosophy and a psychology perspective, it's a nightmare for a lot of philosophers, for a lot of psychologists.
Exactly.
Personally, for me, I believe it is one of the greatest opportunities which has been out there in maybe a century. An opportunity to really do a real large-scale study in terms of human behavior.
Sounds like an entirely new social discipline.
Yeah, I mean, can be, but purely from the sheer scale perspective.
Sure.
Absolutely from scale perspective. I mean, I don't think so there has ever been an opportunity for anyone to do a behavioral study at this scale. Ever. Imagine.
Yeah. Because there has never been a time in history, ever, that we are so connected at such massive scale.
So connected, so willing to share intimate details of our life.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, there's never been ever in history. Number one, there has never been an opportunity where at this scale people have been asked about how they are feeling at this scale. And number two is people have never been willing to share it.
Exactly.
And this large a scale. So that is really interesting, but purely from a perception perspective, right? I mean, you raise a very interesting point. I feel that people do try to create an image on social media on the way they would want others to perceive them.
Yeah.
Let's say I want the others to perceive me as someone who's very strong, mentally, physically, or I would want someone to perceive me as someone who's intelligent. Like, you see the folks who like keep quoting some random story. Or Socrates and and more continuously doing that. The idea is to put out that criticism.
Exactly. Hey, I'm so knowledgeable.
I am knowledgeable, also deep out here.
Exactly.
But I personally feel that is still okay. I mean, that creation of perception is still okay, unless you don't really get too absorbed by it.
Right. It doesn't change the way you think, it doesn't change the way you behave, and you just keep projecting and projecting, but nothing changes instantly.
So I'm it's coming to your point of perception, right? I'm pretty okay with people trying to push this kind of a perception from their social media. I am pretty alright with that, till the point it doesn't changes them. Till the time they don't start believing it really.
Yeah.
Because then there is a problem. Then there's a problem of, I mean, you're not really clear anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Then it gets a bit tricky.
Yeah. Interesting. And now we talk about the company that you're building, which is basically a news platform, right? We'll get to this in a minute, but I want to see how this relates to what we just discussed, right? But tell me more about Ketitik and what makes it different from other news platforms.
Sure. I mean, look, okay, so for starters, what is Ketitik? Ketitik is a short-form news app. We are building it for Southeast Asia. It is now live in Indonesia, only in Bahasa. Users can read news summaries, verified news summaries in less than 60 words.
Okay.
Right. It's a very social media feel.
Yeah.
It's more like a TikTok or an Instagram reel.
Yeah.
But as much as my investors or the VCs hate it, we are building a non-addictive app.
Non-addictive app.
They don't really like this term at all, but it is what it is, right? So we don't use algorithms because we firmly believe that news should not be algorithm driven. Unlike social media, wherein you've liked a cat video, I can show you another 10 cat video, it's gonna be good fun. News doesn't work like this. Because let's say, for example, if you are a hardcore right-wing political activist, and I only keep showing you right-wing political stuff, you will start believing that the whole world is right-wing.
That's the objective truth, right?
Right? That's the objective truth for you, which is not correct. I mean, there is a certain responsibility which every venture has to take.
Shaping.
And shaping the society, of course. I'm not going to give you a very socialist angle over here. We are a purely a capitalist company. We want to make money. But we are very clear that we don't want to make money at an expense of larger society.
Sure.
That is something which we are very clear upon. So we have built a non-addictive but personalized app, which basically gives you new summaries of categories and topics which you're interested in.
Okay.
Right. Let's say, for example, you're not interested in politics, but there has been a massive political event. We will still push that in your feed.
So there's a common tab.
That's kind of, it's an editorial call.
Right?
And then on top of this, we also summarize a lot of social media content.
You summarize social media content.
So, like, for example, there are, again, it is all from verified channels only. We take a lot of pride in that, ensuring that it is only from verified channels. So, be it be it, let's say, Ministry of Tourism or Ministry of Education or someone's Twitter account in politics, sports, entertainment. They have made a video, there are podcasts coming up, or there is a podcast which has come up. We summarize a few important snippets out
Like
there.
what you did to our episode, basically,
to
right?
our episodes are yes. Right, so we summarize those as well. So the idea is to give our readers a one-stop solution for their informative content snippets.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, on an average, users spend close to 9 minutes on Ketitik
Per day.
App per day.
Yeah.
Our North Star metrics is 15 minutes.
Wow.
If a user is spending, let's say, more than 20 minutes a day on the app, I will be genuinely concerned about their mental health. You are not supposed to read.
Which is probably counterintuitive for your investors or your...
Not really. I'll come to that.
Not really?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be genuinely concerned. I mean, if you're spending more than 25 minutes on a news platform, because on our app, within a minute, you can read almost 8 news summaries.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not supposed to consume 200 news summaries a day for that matter.
Because that becomes mindless scrolling and mindless consumption of content.
That becomes very mindless consumption of content.
Yeah.
The way we are building this is that we're building a premium base. The app is free for anyone to use and download.
Yeah.
But we are focused and we are targeted towards the concrete middle class of Indonesia.
Yeah.
From a user's perspective. And we are very clear that if we have this kind of user base, which spends even 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day, it actually builds a very strong user base purely from future revenue in terms of advertisements or subscription perspective.
Yeah. And all these summaries and snippets, does the company make these summaries and snippets, or do you allow anyone to make summaries and snippets and making it more like a two-way?
Yeah, news now no, right?
Social platform.
Right now no.
Okay.
Right now no. It is limited to our team of editors only, editors and writers at Ketitik. We have plans to have a two-way communication wherein certain users will be allowed to contribute.
Right. Yeah. Because I think Twitter X started allowing their users to context, etc. to.
Yeah, but I mean, again, look, either way, there's so much of noise.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the core missions of personally mine is to reduce that noise in the news category, especially.
Yeah.
Right? We have certain plans, but again, that will be a very limited release to very limited number of
set of users.
Yeah, limited number of users across different pin codes in Indonesia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't share much on that.
Sure.
But it will be very limited, not very noisy. That is something which I can promise.
I wanted to ask you about your perception when it comes to the role of news in shaping people's perception of the world around them. I think this has been discussed a lot, especially in the last 5 to 10 years or so, right? Because what we know about reality, and probably we'll get to this as well, especially when you look into things like recent discoveries in quantum physics, etc. Reality is determined by the observer, right? There's this experiment in quantum physics where, and the team won a Nobel Prize by proving this. They determined that everything in this world is a wave. Only when an observer observes the wave.
And you're talking about sunlight observation, right? The last year's Nobel Prize.
Exactly.
The three European folks.
So the moment it's observed, the wave
becomes a particle.
When it is not observed, it's only a wave. It's only a set of possibilities.
It's taken the whole world of science.
Exactly.
Why it's thrown out there.
It changes our entire perception. So people say it's like almost like the Galileo moment, right? When it is. We used to believe that everything revolves around the Earth, and then we discover.
So okay, sorry. Just sticking to this one. So just correct me if my understanding is out there.
Yeah.
So the study was that if the sun rays are not observed, they are a wave. They are a wave. But as soon as they are observed, they change nature and they become particle.
Yes. It becomes physical. It becomes tangible. Yeah.
It is physical earlier as well, but it is a wave.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But as soon as it is observed, it becomes particle.
It becomes particle.
Yeah. So I was listening when this. I have certain amount of interest. I don't deep dive into it. Not my thing as such. But I was very intrigued and started.
It is intriguing.
Started reading on it. So first thing the most exciting thing which I found is, and this is for everyone, it takes 8 minutes for the sunlight to reach Earth.
Yeah.
So every time you look at the sun, you're looking at a sun which is 8 minutes old.
In the past.
Exactly. Right? And so the whole core of the study, they have just proved this and they have left it.
Yeah.
They're like, now you think. We've proven it.
Now ponder.
Now ponder upon. I'm like, okay, if I observe a human, they tend to change, right? It's a very human thing. I mean, if you observe, let's say, a dog.
Yeah.
The dog realizes, right, that this bugger is like constantly looking at
Yeah, exactly.
So they start making movements.
Exactly.
But this was like, why? How this happened?
Exactly.
Sun rays?
Yeah. I mean,
They are changing when observed.
let's not even talk about the sun. I mean, the theory proves that this table right here, if no one is observing this table, it's not a physical thing. It refers back to its original form, which is a wave in this, what the scientists term as quantum form. A sea of possibilities. But the moment someone enters, the moment someone with consciousness enters, it could be, an ant, it could be a fly, it could be a human being, it could be a dog, it could be a cat. The wave then suddenly, they use the term collapses. It's called the wave function collapse. This wave collapses into a particle and forms this exact specific form, which we label as a table. Right? So, we didn't think that way before this discovery. I think what we thought before as humankind was that there's always an objective reality out there. Space-time, particles, right, waves, energy, matter, that exists regardless of whether there's an observer or not, regardless of whether human beings exist or not, right? And this is also related to the age-old question, if a tree falls in the forest and no one was around to hear it, was there any sound, right? So, but the idea is that let's just assume that we take this discovery at face value, right? Let's assume that is the truth. There is no misunderstanding of the phenomenon, and that theory is correct. The implication then becomes there is no objective reality in the way that we understood it. There is only reality that collapses. There is only possibility that collapses into reality when people observe it. And as we spoke before, platforms like social media, right, news platforms, etc., the way we communicate at massive scales with millions of people at once, it makes observation, it's no longer a single consciousness observing a single phenomenon. It becomes like multiple millions of different consciousness observing phenomenon that then collapses from wave to particle to reality.
Sure.
And I just can't wrap my head around that, man.
Yeah, I got very intrigued when I read and heard about that discovery.
Yeah.
Number one, this is not a new discovery. This theory
Correct.
has been in discussion
For decades.
since 1920s, 1930s.
Yes.
Einstein was the first one to say that bullshit, this is not.
Exactly.
Throw this away. It doesn't.
Space-time is fundamental.
Correct. So, from my perspective, I'll tell you, I believe a lot of these answers have already been given in philosophy.
Right.
Right. So, science, I always feel, is catching up
Science is catching up.
with philosophy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying philosophy is right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that there has been so much of philosophy across, like be it Asia, Europe. Mostly it's Asia, Europe. Like India has a massive history of philosophical texts.
Yeah.
No, lot of which is being proven by science.
Proven by science. Exactly.
Right. So I always tend to look back at philosophy,
Right.
Not as a gospel, but more as an inspiration.
Yeah. It's guidance.
It's a guidance.
Yeah.
Comes to news, two parts. So purely from a business perspective,
Right.
at Ketitik, we don't create our own content.
You don't. Okay.
So we don't create our own news. We are very clear on that. We don't have the expertise.
Right.
What we do is we collate
Yeah.
news from verified sources
Yeah.
and we summarize it. So we are more of a media technology platform
Sure.
rather than a content platform. We don't create our own content at all. That is number
So you don't have a team of journalists that
We have a team of journalists. We have a team of journalists, but they don't create original content.
Right.
They help to summarize the content which is already there in the market.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. That is number one.
Yeah.
Number two, my personal perspective on news.
Right.
It is, as an industry, going through a very tough time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very, very difficult for anyone who has only news as a sole business
Yeah.
to survive.
Yeah.
Survive ethically is what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. You have to cut corners.
Yeah.
Be it with brands or with your political ideologies or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to.
Yes.
Hence, as you see, without taking names, almost in every country, one or the other conglomerate is buying one news channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be it print, paper,
It is the case. Yeah.
television.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it is becoming difficult for survival.
To survive on its own.
Survival is becoming difficult. But at the same time, as we've been told, news media is the fourth pillar of the democracy in every democracy. I feel it's time that we repair that pillar.
We should.
We should.
Yeah.
It's very shaken.
It's too important to
It's extremely
bend it.
extremely important. I mean, you see this now across so many countries in Europe, wherein there's a rise of right-wing philosophies, right?
Alternative facts.
The alternate
Someone might call it.
Yeah, I mean, can you believe there are channels on YouTube which still claim that the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
and they've got like millions of people supporting them.
Oh, let's get to that. After this.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is a responsibility of news of news media to make sure that there is a saying amongst old school journalists that if someone says that it is raining outside and the other person says it's not raining outside, as a journalist or as a newspaper, it's not your job to quote both of them. It's your job to fucking look out of the window.
To confirm.
Right. Today, it is more of quoting people across segments and just putting it out there and saying, so what do you think?
Right.
Don't.
It becomes subjective too.
I don't do that.
Or in some cases, you would try to convince the others to believe this one person who you agree with or believe in, regardless of what's happening outside, whether it's raining or not.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you want to be only an opinion piece, then you be only an opinion piece.
Yes.
But when you're talking about purely being a news media, I think there are some basic cores which you should stick to. One is that you will share content which is newsworthy without being partial.
Right.
And that has to be done across domains, across spectrums, across political beliefs, across the stature of people. Right. I think it's gotten a lot trickier. It's moving more towards social media, which news is moving more towards social media. Which is actually a shame. I don't think so. It is not healthy for any democracy.
Right.
It isn't.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me it's funny that roughly at around the same time, we discovered this phenomenon proven by scientists that won a Nobel Prize, basically determining that possibility becomes reality when it is observed. We're also entering an era where, as we discussed, truth becomes very blurry and very subjective. It is influenced by, perception as opposed to facts.
Okay. Generally, I don't think people are more interested in fake news rather than true. Rather than true articles, to be honest. Truth article, it's good. It's out there. Some might want to focus and observe deeper into that. And then there is basically your own realm of truth within it. But there's more fun in fake news. Right?
Oh yes, it is more fun because every time I'm reading it,
as I always keep saying this,
going down the rabbit hole. I spend hours
saying to my friends, right? So fake news actually doesn't die for a very long period. Like, for example, if I share something which is fake with you, you're a fairly intelligent person. I mean, you're talking about Nobel Prize winning work and all. So I assume you're a fairly intelligent person. It will take you, let's say, half an hour to figure out that, okay, man, this is when it's figured out. It doesn't die out there. It will pass on to someone with a slightly lesser intelligence, for example. Then it will move from classes. It will move from the city to villages, from villages to the tribes. And it stays there. It will take like a couple of years for them to figure out, oh man, this was fake.
And during that time, it becomes the truth for them, right?
It becomes a myth of sorts as well, right? Stays for a really long time. I always keep telling that if there's one idea and content, create a website or an app where you just put out fake news and tell that it's fake news. Let people come and read those to be clear that it's fake.
A fake news platform.
Just come every day. Read. So you figure out that, okay, my today's dose of fake news is done. If anyone else is sharing it, I will know that this is fake. So it becomes a repository of sorts.
Exactly.
For fake news.
That's so funny. Actually, you should probably do that. Because I think what a lot of news platforms have been doing are they doing fact checkings. They're doing fact checkings and then they verify a couple of fake news that gain certain traction, try to verify the facts and publish it. But if we flip it the other way around, right? Let's just have this platform for every single fake news out there.
Right.
Fake
news.
Yeah, and maybe from time to time you will have the real news in between the fake news. This is confirmed to be a fact, right? Yeah.
Which is easier.
Probably easier.
It's easier.
Probably easier, yeah. Yeah, let's get to that for a little bit when you mentioned about how a lot of people today, right, believe that we never landed on the moon. That the Earth is flat as opposed to round.
Yeah.
That the world is actually run by a ring of reptilians, reptilian human hybrids that basically run parties and banks and all the media companies, and all these different crazy theories. There's this one called Project Blue Beam, which is basically a conspiracy where the government will use some kind of projection technology to fake an alien invasion that will end up in a one world government controlling the entirety of human population, for example. And a lot of people I know, they do believe these things, right?
Very strongly.
Very strongly. Yeah. And to them, this is the truth. To them, right? To some of us who believe otherwise, right? That is not the truth, right? That sort of makes me shivers, because then truth becomes something, again, we keep going back to this, truth becomes something that is very subjective. Beyond certain realms, like for example, 1 + 1 = 2, we always know that is true, right? And for example, I'm sitting here with you right now, we know that is true. But beyond basic, observable, verifiable, immediately verifiable facts, like those things, it all becomes very subjective. Even the most basic things. So for example, you're wearing a red polo t-shirt, right? But how do we know that you and I are seeing the same red?
Correct.
We don't know, because there's no way for us to describe.
Correct.
There was no way for us to describe how red looks like to me, and then compare it to how red looks to you. And there's no way for us to compare these two observations. And if we take that to the biggest of scales, right? Because in quantum physics, it seems to be proven that whatever works in micro scale is the way it works at macro scale.
Macro scale.
The universe is a fractal universe. However things work in micro scales, they work the same way in macro scale. So we take that to a certain scale, and then it becomes, you look at any news, right? You try to verify the facts, but even sometimes the facts, people verify different facts, and their interpretation of the facts differ as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, look,
it becomes so tricky.
I mean, it has always been there. Okay,
it's always been this way.
It's always been this way. It's just that content creation and content distribution had never been this easy.
Yes.
So let's take Indonesia for example. Even 20 years ago or 25 years ago, there was still a bunch of people who would sit down, rokok, copy, and have their conversations, right? Now, if there are 20 people talking, there'll always be those 1 or 2 people who really have a strong voice, strong opinion of their own. And then you'll have these 15 or 16 enamored by the philosophies of these two. Even in small groups, it happens. And then you have this one person who's like, dude, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
Who will be like,
it's always been that way. Huh?
It's always been that way.
Yeah.
So, and that's what you see on social media.
Yeah,
it's a reflection of our micro societies.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of us. Right? The same story on social media as well. There will be a good bunch of people who will reject every popular opinion. So you tell me one popular opinion and I will tell you that it has been rejected somewhere.
Yeah.
That's always the case.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's talk the oldest one. Does God exist?
Right.
So there is a massive mass of people who say yes.
Yeah.
But then there is an equally opinionated smaller fraction, but equally opinionated batch of people who say don't.
Right.
Right? And then they have their own theories.
Exactly.
So when it comes to news, again, as I said, right, I mean, it is not news's job to quote both sides.
Right.
So news's job is to investigate and put out the fact for that investigation.
Yeah, it's a hard job.
It's a very hard job.
Yeah,
it's a very difficult job. I have a lot of respect.
Yeah,
for journalists.
Yes,
I mean, they have been responsible for so many major moments in our recent history.
Yeah,
in the last 50 to 100 years.
Yeah,
they have single-handedly created so many moments.
Yeah,
right. Be it Me Too movement in US, which was recently out there. It was an investigative journalism story.
Yeah,
which started this whole movement,
right,
against sexual practices.
Yeah,
right. So it is very difficult, but again, to answer your question, objective reality for a small batch of people is going to be always different.
Yep.
It's just that social media has made it very easy in terms of distribution.
And made it very visible for us to observe as well.
Very visible. The editing has become so easy.
True.
Like, for example, I spoke now for 1.5 minutes on how importance of journalism and reporters. You can just pick up 30 or 15 seconds of it and make it sound like I hate. I hate journalism. I hate reporters.
Framing, right?
Framing. Yeah. Which is being done so easily.
Yeah, exactly. It can even be automated using AI.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's get to AI. But it becomes super easy, and hatred apparently is more popular. It's easier.
Yeah.
To get more eyeballs for hatred.
Right.
Compared with kindness or positive content.
Yeah.
For positive content, it really has to be super strong for you to get more reach.
Yeah.
For hatred, even with some bit of hatred, you can get the reach.
Yeah.
It's easier.
It's interesting how the human mind works.
It is really.
I do appreciate journalists. It's a super hard job. My wife was a journalist, and I have a lot of journalist friends. And kudos to you who's building this platform to hopefully make the jobs of journalists easier, right? And then making the jobs for news readers easier as well, right? So Bipin, let's do a fun set of rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Of these two terms, series of two terms that I'm going to describe to you. You pick one which that you prefer.
Sure.
Right? QR codes or NFC technology?
QR codes. I think they have a larger play compared to NFC in different domains. So QR code.
Awesome. AI generated art or human generated art?
I'm a bit school human generated art.
Got it. I do love some human generated art myself. Seeing all the millions of AI generated art pieces that you can find.
I think it's gonna be rare, so good fun human generated.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna become rare gradually.
It's always gonna be like an NFT.
Yeah.
Rare supply of human art. Cybersecurity or data privacy?
Cybersecurity in the long term.
Got it. Programmatic advertising or manual ad placement?
This manual ad placement.
Manual ad placement. Yeah. Do you believe in human ingenuity to understand human emotion?
No, especially in this case, because programmatic is heavily misused.
Right.
It's one of the most misused advertisement methods in the last few years.
Interesting.
So I prefer manual ad placement only because of that.
Right.
At this point of time.
At this point.
Yeah.
AI-powered SEO or influencer marketing?
Good one. I think influencer marketing with AI-powered checks for the influence.
Got it.
But yeah, influencer marketing. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I sort of on the same page on that.
Yes.
Right. It has been a great 1 hour chat with you, Bipin.
Absolutely.
I think we touched many topics. Your life story, your career, how you got started, how did you end up in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, how you started Ketitik and your vision and idea around it. We even touched quantum physics.
We aren't qualified. We aren't qualified for quantum physics.
We're not physicists, guys. We're here as casual observers of incredible phenomenon that was recently discovered in the realms of sciences. But it's very fascinating.
It is. I mean, I would suggest to everyone to do read on this one. I know science can be pretty boring for a lot of us, but this particular discovery is so mind-blowing.
Trust me, this is the only thing that I've read in the last decade or so that made me regret that I didn't pay more attention to my physics class.
Yeah, because
in junior high school or high school.
It just changes everything.
Changes everything.
Just changes everything.
Yeah.
The way we see, the way we observe people, the way we observe objects, our own thoughts.
Exactly.
Our own thoughts. So, I mean, when the philosophers said that thoughts do travel, okay, there might be some massive truth out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Made me shivers. My entire hair stood up, basically. Any closing message to our audience, Bipin?
Closing message. Thank you for having me on this chat. It was really good fun. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. My only message would be mindful of what kind of content you indulge yourself in. Gradually you will become the content which you indulge.
Just like what you become what you eat, you will become what the content that you consume.
You will gradually, I mean, so it used to be you will become, there's a saying, right, that you are a sum total of 5 of your closest people.
Right.
Right? Similarly, you are what you read.
Yeah.
Now no one reads anymore, unfortunately.
Or you become the ones that you watch.
So once what you watch, once what you consume, you will gradually, it will take over.
Stay safe out there, people.
Stay safe.
Thank you so much, Bipin.
Thank you so much.
See you again soon.
Thank you.